Welcome back, Terrifics. I am Michael Artsis, and we are live from PhotoPlus Expo 2015 in New York City. This is your official live continuing coverage of PhotoPlus Expo, and I am so excited. It's on Be Terrific. You are the Terrifics. You make Be Terrific special. I have got a great guest. You know, I've been saying all day, we talk so much about taking the photo, what kind of device we're using, how many megapixels, all this stuff. We don't talk enough about how we're going to preserve the photo, how we're going to showcase the photo, and how we're going to print the photo. That's really as much process as taking the photo, as lighting the photo, and as the tech that goes into that technology. There's a ton of technology that goes into printing it as well. I've got Drew from Red River Paper here, and the paper is so important. You know, people don't realize the paper is the first part of printing that is the most important part.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of this very long technological process, taking the picture, editing it, picking the ones you like best, the very end, where it really should be most important, is paper, right? So you're going to use paper, and you should kind of know what it's going to do to your image, because different papers make images look different. So one image can look really great with matte paper, for example, but if it's a glossy paper, it may not look so good. So this is the end of the process, at the end of the photographic process. So it seems like paper's kind of forgotten these days. It's like it's the very end, so people just, it's not that important.
And we don't print enough photos these days. We don't preserve our memories and showcase our memories the way we should. And you're so right, because it's really a part of the artistic process. It's part of the editorial process, and people don't think of that. I remember the first time I came across it. It's going to sound silly, but I was in college, and I took an advertising class, and I had to make my own advertisements. So I basically taught myself Photoshop living at Kinko's. And I remember the first time I printed out this thing I did in Photoshop, and that was really cool, and I printed it out in color, right? That was the only place I knew that I could go to have a color print. And I said, excuse me, sir, this doesn't look good. And the guy said, well, it's on the wrong paper. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Your printer's screwed up. And he said, no, and he took out different paper, and every time we tried something different, it gave us a different result. And I still was never happy, because these are very, abused machines, and really they're not the right printing machines, right?
Sure,
this
for that
is very much running it through the mill, getting it done quickly. Great, at college, I stayed up all night to get the project done that day. Yeah. I quickly learned there was a place in the city called Dugal.
Okay.
And I could go there and really work on printing it correctly, printing it on proper paper, and getting much better results. And it's funny how my grades went from like A- to A+ overnight.
It's very important. The end result is really truly the most important thing. Yeah. I mean, shooting is important, having the eye is important, but if you don't display, share, kind of get what you wanted in your heart when you shot that image, at the end of the process, it sort of falls flat. Showing somebody an image on a screen, for example, is a nice, very sort of a fleeting thing. But if you want to make a real, truly impression of the work that you did, handing somebody a print on the paper that works best for that image really makes a huge impression.
It really does. It really does. You've got, you do everything. You do postcards, you do all brochures, all sorts of stuff, and you have new paper that you've announced here at PhotoPlus. So the new paper first, and then let's walk through the other products.
Sure. So the new paper is called Palladuro Soft Gloss Rag, and that's a lot of words, but Palladuro is our line of products which are archival, and they're more warmer tone. And soft gloss just means that it's not quite a gloss, and it's not quite a matte paper. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it. But this paper was designed to look like a photo lab or a darkroom print from a long time ago. Kind of a platinum print is what they would have called it. So this, it's a heavier weight product. It's made of 100% cotton. The coating is glossy, and it's inkjet compatible coating. So as long as you have a printer that can handle paper this thick, this is the sort of product you would use to show off your best work.
This is beautiful. It actually, I don't know, I'm a big Back to the Future fan, and yesterday was Future Day, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It was Back to the Future Day, and it kind of reminds me of Back to the Future 3,
right.
But how vivid that was shot and how beautiful that was shot. It really reminds me of that. This is an unbelievable photograph. I'm close to doing the print justice by showing this on camera, but I can see that, first of all, the dynamic range is unbelievable, and the detail in the shadows is unbelievable as well. You can see in the pine trees, in the darkness, you can actually see the pine trees, the leaves, the whatever you call those things on the pine trees, the pines, I guess. And you can see how bright, you know, the tops of the...
You can kind of imagine what the day was like there.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I'm not degrading the screen and sharing on screens, but the emotional aspect of what you feel holding this print is just different than when you're looking at it on a phone. So you know, and so we're not advocating to print everything, but we are advocating the fact that the print is still the best way to preserve photographic images and to really to share them properly and to kind of get people fired up, as it were, about what photography is all about, which is the print.
With as many photos as we take today, I don't think we could print everything.
Absolutely, right.
So, just out of curiosity, you said that this is made out of cotton. Does that mean it's not made out of trees? Is that not made out of wood?
That's correct, yeah. This is, the base stock of this product is 100%, it's called a cotton rag. And in the industry...
It's almost like money.
It is, it's almost like money, exactly. And well, it's more expensive than trees, but the reason we use it is because cotton is very non-reactive, and so over time, the paper this paper is made out of, it will withstand the ravages of time.
So this is archival paper.
It is. It's archival. We like to call it conservation grade. A lot of museum folks that we talk to bemoan the fact that they're handed prints on all manner of materials, from copy paper, literally copy paper, to a museum, to a product that would be like this.
Right.
And they are forced to deal with these products, right? They're forced to deal with them because they're curators. And so we call this conservation grade because we're trying to get across the idea that if you really want to think of your images as museum quality, or you're actually giving them to a museum, this is the sort of material you would use. So that's kind of where that comes from. And so cotton rag actually starts off as jeans mostly, recycled jeans and recycled pants. That's where it comes from. It's not actual from a cotton plant, for example.
So that's from my Levi's.
It is. It could very well be from your Levi's.
You know what I love about that too, though, is you're not tearing down trees. You're not the environmental impact is actually, if you're recycling jeans, it's actually great. It's a positive environmental impact instead of a negative. So that's wonderful. I really like that. How do you know when to use glossy and when to use matte?
Sure, that's a tough question in a short amount of time. And
we could spend all day here. The terrifics want to know. Well,
let's do this.
Cancel every other guest, please. Thank you.
I have that effect on people. Yeah. So we have actually on our website.
Dave from Felix Lighting just had a heart attack.
I'm sorry, Dave. So actually have a thing called the Great Inkjet Paper Guide, and I'm getting somewhere with this. So we start off with asking the person, the customer, the reader, what type of image are you printing? So it's broken down by portraits, landscapes, black and whites. Within those subgroups, we talk about the surfaces that are best for that type of image. So glossy is a product that will create extra sort of tack sharpness. It also has more saturation and more vibrance, but it also has reflections. So your eyes have to deal with that reflective quality. You'd use glossy for, you could use it for automobiles.
That's what I was going to say. I think like race cars, right?
Exactly. Perfect for race cars.
I got this great panning shot of a race car. Actually, Robert Herjavec's Ferrari Challenge car.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I did it at a 30th of a second. It's like,
so it's,
yeah.
Yes. And so for something like that, we have a product called Polar Pearl Metallic. And so it's a glossy. It has a kind of metallized surface, and it's for cars and for aircraft, it's amazing. Yeah. So that's where glossy kind of fits. Now, a matte paper, for example, is a totally non-reflective surface.
I usually like matte. I would think like, that's good for headshots, family portraits.
Yes.
It's good for modeling. It's good for a lot of things.
Right, it is. It crosses a lot of different markets, different types of people, graphic artists, photographers. Even within photography, somebody who's a portrait artist might use matte in one way, but then somebody who's shooting commercial may use matte for a different reason.
It's almost more dramatic.
It is, it can be, and one thing special about matte is it doesn't have any reflective quality. That means that whatever you're looking at, you're forced to look at the details.
Right.
There's no reflections, nothing competing for your brain's attention.
It's a more honest image almost.
Absolutely. So yeah, we push it for like landscapes and for things with lots of detail.
Almost more rich image as well.
It can be. I mean, if you really want some punchy, sharp colors, do something that has reflections, but if you know what you're doing and you have a good image, first of all.
Well, look at this. I mean, you got punchy, sharp colors there too.
That's true, and especially if you shoot well, you properly expose, and you follow some of the rules for editing the image to look really well when it's printed, matte paper will sing. It's really nice.
I love that you have a guide on the website. Let me see the postcard that you have there, and while you're doing that, tell me a little bit about Red River Paper and how the company was started. What's the philosophy? It seems like you guys really put a lot of emphasis on making sure that the image is taken care of.
Yes, absolutely. So we're 18 years old this year. We are probably the oldest independent paper house that sells inkjet paper in North America, at least a United States-based company. We were started in '97. My boss, the owner, is from a paper family. His dad sold paper in the Dallas area to offset printers for 50, 60 years. My boss moved on from there and became, his Red River Paper. So we started with one product that we carried until last year, until it was discontinued. So we had sort of kind of a pedigree of long-standing products that we've sold and we will maintain.
With one product. That's
we started
amazing.
with one paper, yes, in 1997. So we've expanded that to 30 different products in our brand name. Every type of inkjet paper you can imagine, every size that you can imagine. And so our job is to fulfill the needs of virtually anybody with an inkjet printer. It could be a photographer, it could be a graphic designer, it could be somebody doing Etsy invitations.
Can people print out an image from an iPhone and make it look beautiful like that?
Yes.
Obviously, really?
Absolutely. Yeah, especially when you get to the 5, the 6, and the 6S.
Sure.
The 6S camera is bordering on bizarrely good
well,
where it's packed in.
You're right. It absolutely is.
Sure, and then we have a gentleman in Dallas that we do some work with, and he works with Apple, and he goes out and does tests for these cameras, and he shot on a 6S, a pano, that ended up 6 feet by 10 feet long. Looks amazing.
Wow.
Now, is it the same exact thing as shooting with, a 5DS?
No, but he had
like
it in
that?
his pocket and he
In
did
his
the
pocket.
pano in 2 minutes instead of stitching it together.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so it's kicking out a file that really is large enough to print 13 by 19s, which is the standard big size
and
all day.
They have billboards in the city here that look amazing that they've printed out. And when you add something like the DxO camera, which we had on before as as an accessory to it, you can shoot RAW with it and stuff. It's really amazing how you can push the limits.
Yes.
Let me hear about this paper.
Sure. Okay. So part of the line that we've created over time is greeting cards, note cards, thank you cards. The reason that we did it to number one is that photographers are artists by nature, even if they don't really know it. They're all sort of artists, and one thing they love to do is share.
The first thing I'm going to say is that is true. You're 100% right, and they love to get their images out there. But look at the stunning colors on this.
Yeah, that's one of our new products we just brought out this week. That's called Ultra Pro Gloss Card. And the most important thing about cards like this is that they have to be foldable, and they also have to be printable on both the outside and the inside. So in this situation, we'd be printing a photograph, some text, maybe a logo, and on the inside you can either leave it blank and use it to sign, or you can actually print text on the inside of all of these products. And the idea is, we're looking for more reasons to give people an excuse to print.
Right.
And so even if they don't have a big printer and they're printing 17-inch wide prints all day, this is sort of the gateway drug, as it were, into printing, because anybody can do this. If you have Photoshop Elements, Photoshop Lightroom, you can go to the site, get templates for it. The process, if you're good in Photoshop, the process of making this card is 2 minutes.
Yeah.
If you don't know anything about Photoshop, you go to our site, you watch, it's 3.5 minutes long.
I like that you do that.
You're there. Right, and so we back up everything with as many videos and written instructions, because some people are visual, some people are auditory learners, so we have both.
I love this one, by the way. This is phenomenal. I don't even know how to
gorgeous.
explain this. I'm just going to say it's phenomenal and then show the audience and the way it feels and is. I guess, do you have printers that you recommend, certain kinds of printers people should buy, or certain versions? Or
We do, yes, and we write articles based on the need. So if you were to go to the internet and search for best inkjet printer for greeting cards, our article pops up on the first page, and it's a living document because the printers are always changing.
Sure.
So we pick printers by subject matter, and by subject matter is for printing greeting cards. They're all photo printers, but they have to be able to handle this sort of stuff.
Sure.
But if a customer comes and says, hey, I'm mostly just doing 8x10 landscapes, I want to make sure they last a long time, I want to make sure that they can use this sort of paper We make sure that they know all they have to do is make a phone call. Because we're not backed by any big company. We're a small organization. We're based in Dallas. And so we are free to sort of speak our mind, be sort of agnostic about the machines. We are fair to every printer out there, but we will give people, say, look, here's the 3 printers you should try. Go do some research. In fact, then we go ahead and write reviews on most of these machines too. It's all about having really educational marketing content.
You need to start with a photo printer though, a photo inkjet. You can't just use a business inkjet or something else.
That's funny. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, your true statement. Today, the technology they put into what would be considered sort of just an office printer is almost, but not quite, as good as the printers that have the word photo on them.
Where do people get the paper? Can they buy it at like B&H and all sorts of other photo camera stores as well as your website?
Yeah, we're a little different. We're the only remaining paper house that's direct only.
I love it.
So on that model for the last 17 years and probably will stay with it. And the reason is we like the control over it. Even though
you
it's
cut out
painful,
the middleman too, so the
That's
consumer maybe saves a little bit more than they would normally spend, and maybe you guys can make a little bit more. So that's great. RedRiverPaper.com?
RedRiverPaper.com.
RedRiverPaper.com. It's stunning. I'm blown away. I don't know what else to say. This is your live, official, continuing coverage of PhotoPlus 2015 in New York City on Be Terrific. You are the Terrifics. You make Be Terrific special. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Check out RedRiverPaper.com while we're in break. We'll be back right after this. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss a moment. And as you heard before, Felix Lights is on next.